So my name is Keledy Kenkel. I'm ITP 2005, and I am talking about hacking public education. I actually just opened up a brand new public high school in New York City, all about making. So how do you take this experience that we've all joint shared and merge it into public high school? And how do you deal with all of the different initiatives that are going on in public education right now? And how do you even fit it into a building that is actually really crappy? One where even the teachers themselves, only I think 19% of the teachers wouldn't recommend the school. So here, I actually, inside of a corner of this gigantic building, opened up the Urban Assembly Maker Academy, a public high school right now, 9th grade. We actually just started in September. And it's a traditional high school. The kids actually have to take traditional classes, in addition to making. But here's one little caveat. I know James earlier had some beautiful slides with some beautiful kids. I actually can't include my pictures of my kids, so you will be seeing a lot of hands. No children were actually harmed. A couple of cats may have been squished. I'm sorry about that. So one of the things that my students actually have a huge problem with is they don't know what making is, even though we've been making forever. And I've actually taken things from, this is actually from Anna Marie Thompson about Making Makers book. All the different topics that actually makers have talked about, which we all know as ITP alum. But for my students, that's actually kind of challenging because they've been told mostly to just fill in bubble sheets and what have you, and to start thinking of themselves as makers. It's a culture shift. And there's also a lot of nitty-gritty that I can talk about later if anyone's ever interested in opening up a public school. The getting all the supplies in, the trying to source every little bit and bob, and then realizing you get an entire crate load of hot glue, but no glue guns. And then trying to work all these other things into your regular classes. So how do you get an English class, a history class, to start thinking about things like design thinking? How do you get the topics of making into these regular required subjects? And also, how do you actually get the kids to get really excited about being makers? So this is actually some pictures from our advisory where we do a variety of different challenges, such as, let's see, here's some straws and some balloons, and let's see how far you can get this to go. And so I actually, as a part of the founding of the school, I teach Making 101, which is actually considered career and technical education for anyone in the ed sector. And what the hell is Making 101? Some of the stuff that I actually started the school year off, mind you this has started in September, was how can students rethink a classroom? Nobody ever asks kids what do they want in a classroom. Nobody asks them what it looks like, anything like that. No one ever really empowers them to do that. So my students were actually, one of their hugest concerns, this is a slide from one of my kids, we, new school, no budget for anything. We didn't have chairs the day before school started. So we ended up going to IKEA, $5 stools, putting them together right before the first day of school, and our students actually ended up really hating them because they weren't really designed for kids. So my students ended up taking an entire adventure about designing different chairs, different types of prototypes, thinking about how could we remake a chair to actually fit us, doing user testing, user interviews, what have you, actually visiting other workplaces and seeing, wow, they have amazing comfortable seating and they have food. Wow. What every 9th grader is actually really interested in is eating. And also going through things like prototyping with cardboard. Some of my students had never actually done stuff with their hands and actually done things to build. And being able to start iterating on these ideas was just explosive for these students. Also being able to take things into digital tools. I love the super low cost Silhouettes paper cutter. It's actually public school teacher's best dream because I can actually rapidly prototype and my kids can change on their ideas. And this is actually from a different unit where we're doing introduction to physical computing. So I've been trying as the maker teacher to cram your 2-year ITP experience into one class that kids take 3 days a week for their entire 4 years. So I will actually be talking a little bit about, so here are our 3 official pathways, which are physical computing, interaction design, and digital media. I mention all this because I actually haven't asked for all of you. I need help. All of you have some really amazing project ideas, and what I would love is a video of what you're actually doing. If you want to have any more involvements, I love guest lectures, especially related to my Pathway teams. We have an advisory panel which talks about what our kids are actually going to be doing. If you want to be mentoring, we're also hiring for next year. Also, we'd love if anyone would ever want to take any of my kids as interns in the future. My closing thoughts, I'm on generous shoes. Give me a gift card, please. It helps me in my classroom. I am on the Twitters. Please follow me. It's amazing. Thank you.